Hello there everyone and welcome back to Season 3 of Division 1 of the Pokemon Premier League. I am joined by Lion.
Hey, how you going?
This is the third time we've tried to record this.
Yes.
And if you don't know, both Hayden and I have terrible internet. So this is going to be fantastic.
For the best.
Alright, so we're gonna be going over the teams in pick order. So it'll be whoever got first pick, going from left to right on the public spreadsheet, which will be in the description below. So we're gonna be going over what coaches did well, what they did poorly, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and start with Schady of the Bayern Munich. Manaphy, Crobat, Aromatisse, Thundy-T, Druddigon, Seismitoad, Skuntank, Pori2, Megalop, Vanillix, and Girafarig. You went first the last couple times, so you can go first on this one.
Yeah, sure. He got the first overall pick and drafted probably the best mod in the format in Manaphy. It's, an offense unto itself, multiple sets that it can run. To Tail Glow, Calm Mind, the Rain Sweeper, all of that. So he definitely didn't waste his opportunity to not get sniped for a good mod. As well as that, he picked up some good support for it. I'm going to steal your thing from the last one because that's how this works. And because you said he had it last season, I'm gonna lead you into this. He had it last season and he didn't have good support for it.
He didn't. He ended up getting sniped. I think it ended up being like only 3 or 4 rounds where he didn't get sniped. So he kind of had to scramble to get a decent looking team together with. I mean, like it wasn't. It didn't have the support that Manaphy needed, and while it wasn't terrible, Manaphy didn't fit the team, and the team didn't fit Manaphy. So trying to make a cohesive unit was extremely difficult for him, and he definitely struggled with that. Which is not. It doesn't seem to be that. It doesn't seem to be the case with this one. You've got reliable removal with Crobat. You got
Skuntank.
Yeah, I don't like Skuntank as a defogger. I don't like Skuntank. Schady uses Skuntank
But
well.
what else does it do?
You can use it as a fast taunt user, you can run it special, you can run it as a pursuit trapper, you can run it with Sucker Punch. It's a good mon, I don't like it. I think it's relatively easy to prepare for, and you either have to be really good with it, which Schady is, or you just need to have a team that supports it, which Schady does. He's gotten, just talking about like the core between Aromatisse and Porygon 2. That core in of itself is going to be extremely difficult to break. They cover each other's weaknesses incredibly well, and when you factor in the extra bulk that he has in Druddigon, Crobat, Seismitoad, and arguably Skuntank, depending on what kind of set you run, it's a very bulky team. That being said, he still has offensive options, being Manaphy, Thundy-T, Crobat sometimes, Seismitoad sometimes, Skuntank sometimes, Megalop all the time because it's a Megalop. I'm not... Vanillix, kind of. And I'm not even going to mention Girafarig because I feel Girafarig was a waste. I feel like it was a waste of 2 points, which could come back to haunt Schady in the future. I think the main complaint I have with this team is the fact that it goes from Megalopony's 136 base speed down to Thundy-T's base 101. No, wait, hold on. It goes Megalop at 136, Crobat 130, and then Thundy-T at 101. And while I guess it's arguable that Crobat can definitely be run offensively, I feel like more often than not it's going to be forced into either a more supportive or full-on wall format, just based on the team and so on and so forth. And I think that's going to be a kind of a pain. There's also the fact that while it does have plenty of offensive options arguably, and has plenty of hazard options. I feel like a lot of the time he's going to be struggling a little bit with trying to get some good Volt turn going, especially considering that Crobat and Thunder's T both don't like rocks, both are relatively predictable. Arguably, you could have a Volt core with Manaphy, Crobat, and Aromatisse, but I feel not Aromatisse, Jesus, Thunder's T. But I feel like he's gonna struggle with some speed tiering, but on the whole, I think it's definitely a lot better than the team he had last season. I don't know. I'm waiting to see if he does anything with Vanillix before I crap on it, but I'm gonna just go ahead and crap on the Giraffere because I think it's a waste. I don't see it doing anything.
He's definitely like drafted around the weaknesses of Manaphy. Like he's covered them all really well, and then. But one of the things that I did notice is that he's going to have trouble keeping his own hazards up because his only removal is Defog, and so if he's trying to hazard stack for a Mega Lopunny sweep or something, he's going to have trouble keeping them on the field.
Aye.
Because he's got such a hazard weak team.
Yeah, when you mention that, yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure Vanillix gets spikes, but I'm not entirely sure. I obviously don't know my Vanillix calcs and so on and so forth because I don't use Vanillix.
Mate, you gotta read up on Vanillix.
Apparently so.
Does not get spikes.
Damn. Well, I mean
that would have been cool. That would have made it a worthwhile pick.
I mean, like a freeze dry is okay, and then doesn't it get explosion?
I think so.
I believe it does.
Explosion, it sure does.
Ah, see, look, you just go boom, easy peasy, turn around, go boom. That's what Vanillix is gonna do. Banded Vanillix, new meta.
Yeah.
Cool.
Suicide bomber.
All right. Let's go ahead and scoot on over to UnlawfulExile of West Chan United. He drafted Mew, Mega Venusaur, Mamoswine, Staraptor, Vaporeon, Hitmonchan, Galvantula, Mismagius, and Alakazam. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take the lead on this one because I hate round 1 Mew. Round 1 Mew is quite literally the bane of my existence. I always hate it. I don't know why people do it, and it's dumb. It's bad. Don't do it. However, now that I've expressed that it is bad and you should never do it, this is the first example where I've seen it done well. Mm-hmm. Liam did an excellent job of getting together a really cohesive team. You've got a great wall core in Mew, Mega Venusaur, and Vaporeon. You've got offensive options in Mamo, Staraptor, Galv, arguably Mismagius, and Zam. You've got and this is a team that can allow Mew to really flex its potential as a as flexible as it is in the format. I feel like this is the first instance where I'm like, wow, okay, this looks like a really good Mew team. However, main issues, I think keeping Mew flexible is going to be difficult, not only because he only has one other form of removal. That removal also happens to be Hitmonchan, and Hitmonchan while it's decent kind of in NU, it's still it's going to struggle versus teams that have a reliable ghost type to switch into it, and that and the fact that it itself doesn't actually get reliable recovery, I think is going to force Mew into that defog stall breaker, or wall position 7 or 8 times out of 10. What are your thoughts?
So in my notes, I had that Hitmonchan was the weakest spinner, and then it looted Mew. So you've covered that for me. Also, he's quite weak to knockoff once you sort of get into it. Like he doesn't have very many switch-ins to it outside of sort of Mega Venusaur. Like, and was it worth drafting Sticky Web, which is pretty much what Galvantula is, on the team that's sort of got such like odd speed tiers as well? Like there's lots of really fast stuff that's probably going to outspeed most things anyway. Whether it was worth it.
Yeah, I think he definitely did well, especially considering the fact that pretty much everything on the team is a viable Scarfer. I don't know about Scarf Zam, but still.
Hey, why not? Why not? I want to see that. If you're watching this on Lawful Exile, I want to see Scarf Zam.
The knockoff thing is definitely huge, especially considering that there's a lot of viable knockoff users. I agree with the Galvantula thing. Like, Galv, while it does have access to reliable stab in Thunder, reliable powerful stab in Thunder, at the same time, like, I feel like those 7 points could have gone somewhere else, probably to either better removal or something like that. This is kind of like my team last season in the fact that it is a small squad of highly, it's quality over quantity, and while everything is good, there's just the weak links being Hitmonchan and Galvantula. I feel like that could have been replaced with a more reliable form of removal that would have alleviated some stress on Mew, and then he could have picked up something for 2 or 3 at the end of the draft that could solidify some sort of niche role that he could find, like freaking Whirlipede with spike support and toxic spike support. That could definitely work
for sure.
I mean,
yeah, it's a very, very cool team outside of the Hitmonchan.
Yeah, I mean,
those are the only 2 problems I have with it.
It's extremely threatening, especially because I think a lot of people sleep on Alakazam, and I've only recently seen kind of a resurgence in the format. I'm very excited to see it. It's definitely worth the pickup. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, Donphanatic of the Norwich Schady, Megalodios, Skarmory, Florges, Nidoking, Zoroark, Heliolisk, Gastrodon, Darmanitan, and Hitmonlee. Wow. I think he needs more special attackers. No, okay, but in all seriousness, Jack was the brave soul to draft Megalodios, which we have allowed for this season of the PPL. It's going to be the test season for Megalodios. Megalodios is dumb, basically. We don't want it. It's basically just a better Manaphy. Like, you can just baton pass boosts into it and then you'll just lose because of stored power, and it's dumb. It's a dumb mon. We're not gonna let it in. Moving on. He started off with his Steel Dragon Fairy core. It's a really strong core. It allows Latios to be extremely offensive, which is really, really good for it, because not only is Megalodios a special behemoth, he also has that boosted attack, which makes it a very viable physical attacker. It's going to be great for chip, great for threatening things out, and not only does it have that going for it, it also has boosting options in like Calm Mind, as well as reliable recovery in Recover and Roost. Skarmory, great hazard support, great hazard removal, can run counter as kind of a check to more offensive teams like SD, Sweepers, and so on and so forth that could otherwise beat it. Especially defensive set is just, dear God, it's so annoying. It's so fat on both the physical and special sides, so it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. Pair that with the support options from Florges, it's just stop it. Stop, it's gross. Moving on, whereas Megalodios can beat offense fairly easily, Nidoking can definitely help break down walls with its vast coverage and the fact that it has sheer force. Sheer force plus good coverage means it's a threat, basically. I am a huge fan of this next pick of his, Zoroark. I definitely fell in love with Zoroark last season of the PPL. It is a really good mon, however it's rather difficult to play with, not only because of its frailness, but also the fact that it suffers greatly from 4 move slot syndrome. That being, sometimes you want to run a physical set, but other times, like at the same time, you would think, all right, I could definitely run like a full-on special set, or trying to balance everything with the Zoroark is definitely difficult, and it's one of those ones that either you prep well with it and it does well, or you don't prep as well as you possibly could have, and while it does okay, it doesn't shine as much as it could have. Heliolisk, I guess, was to give him Volt Turn with Zoroark. I'm gonna get back to Heliolisk. I'm not sure how I feel about it, especially considering the next pick is Gastrodon, and Gastrodon is kind of the thing that rounds out the core of Skarmory Florges, and it itself. It is definitely a mixed bag when you look at it in a vacuum. However, when you plug it in with a Skarm Florges core, I definitely think it can shine, especially considering that not only do you have wish support from Florges, you also get aromatherapy. Gastrodon itself has reliable recovery. If somebody whips out random hidden power grass or grass knot, you can easily just switch into Skarmory and just, I don't know, switch around until you get the upper hand. Like, you can beat most fire types with Mega Latios, simply because it's got great natural bulk plus recovery. So there's a give and take. It's a very cohesive team, and then when you throw in the offensive options of Darmanitan and Hitmonlee, I think it works really well. Getting back to Heliolisk, I'm not sure why he picked it. Heliolisk, while it is a rather quick special attacker, and it does give him Volt Turn options, I'm not sure I would have picked up Heliolisk, especially because when you look at it on paper, it is a water immunity. It is a fast special attacker. So hold on. Yeah, okay. And it has kind of limited move pool, because you get Hyper Voice, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Hidden Power, and then like Surf and Grass Knot, and then Focus Blast. All of the roles that Heliolisk can do, Jack already had on the team. Like, he had water immunity in Gastrodon, he had a fast momentum option in Zoroark, he has powerful electric moves in Nidoking, albeit not stab, but at the same time, like, I don't think Heliolisk was the correct mon to plug in at that slot. I think. Were
there any other fast electric types left? Like Jolteon was already gone.
Jolteon was probably gone. I'm gonna go ahead and try.
Someone get Raikou? Raikou might have been too expensive.
At that point, I'm assuming that Raikou was too expensive. Yeah, Raikou didn't actually end up getting drafted.
Oh.
Yeah, it's interesting.
That is interesting.
I think it's just because it's really expensive, and you can get a cheaper electric type that can do roughly the same roughly the same job, excuse me.
Like Heliolisk.
I mean, I feel like that's my only complaint. Like, he definitely has speed and scarf options and hazards and removal and so on and so forth. What do you think?
One of the things that I noticed is that there's some really good potential synergy between Nidoking and Zoroark. Like, you can run one physically offensive and one specially offensive as sort of like the surprise thing. So you disguise Zoro as Nidoking, and then they're like, oh, okay, so it's the physical set, and then you actually bring Nidoking in, and it's the special set, and that might catch a few people out. Was sort of one of the things that I noticed.
Aye. I think.
I didn't ruin his plan at all. That was.
I think a lot of people who draft Zoroark run into this issue. It's like, oh yeah, I have to play mind games with it. I think a lot of the time the opponent psychs themselves out more than you need them to, especially when you have a Zoroark on the team, just because they'll be either hyper vigilant for it, or they'll just forget that it's there and then get bopped by it. So I agree. I definitely think that there's potential in that core. I don't like his fighting stab, his Hitmonlee, but at the same time Hitmonlee is really freaking scary, especially when you pair it with that really, really good core.
Yeah, late game priority. It's always nice.
Aye. I think it's a very cohesive team, and there's not much to really complain about.
Nope.
Alright, cool. Shroomraver, Parasect Germain, the champion of last season. So again, we start with another Steel Fairy Dragon's core in Latias, Sylveon, Mega Scizor, followed up by Crocodile, Jellicent, Blaziken, Weezing, Tornadus Eye, Electabuzz, Tangela, and Noctowl. I'm just gonna go ahead and get out of the way. I don't like Noctowl. I think it's a waste.
But it's a defogger for 2 points.
It's a defogger, and it has reliable special bulk. I get that. I respect that. You do have a Latias, you have a Sylveon, you have a Mega Scizor. All of these things can be bulky. Latias can be a defogger, Mega Scizor can be a defogger. I don't think he needed another one, but it's debatable. It's debatable. I'll give him that. Crocodile. I don't like Crocodile, but I think it's very scary in the format, especially when you don't actually address it. Crocodile is one of those things that a lot of people sleep on. I myself have slept on Crocodile and paid the price for it. Especially considering that with a Choice Band, it is extremely powerful. When it has the potential to snowball out of control really easily. Jellicent is a fantastic wall. It's a water immunity, can run Fast Taunt, can run Willow Hex. It's a great check to other ground types, and has reliable recovery of itself. It's a great pick, great mon in the format. No complaints there. Blaziken's interesting. Blaziken is a firefighting type that can be either physical or special. I'm waiting to see what it can do here, especially considering that we can only run Blaziken. I don't know what it's gonna do. Weezing, Spikes, Will-O-Wisp doesn't do a whole lot other than check physical mons and ground type. I think it can definitely work with Jellicent, but at the same time, like when you look at the core, it doesn't really like knockoff. Tornadus Eye, you can get Prankster Tailwinds, and again, it's one of those picks that a lot of people sleep on, and if you don't address it, you'll lose to it. Especially considering that you have to deal with stab hurricanes from a really powerful mon. And then we're going to round it out with Electabuzz and Tangela, both PU picks, both have their niche roles that they both perform relatively well, especially considering that Electabuzz has a respectable speed tier at base 105? It's 105 or 95? I can't remember. And then Tangela is just really, really fat.
It's 105.
I'm amazing.
Well done.
Alright, let's look at the team as a whole. What do you think?
It's such a top heavy draft. Like if you were preparing for it, you'd be like, those first 3 mons are coming every week. But then you look below that and you might sleep on some of the other things like Crocodile, like Blaziken, like Tornadus, and you won't prep for them as much, and then you'll probably get bopped by them. That was my overall impression of the team. Is that he's got such a scary first 3 rounds that everything else might get overlooked, and that might win him some games.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that this is a team where I feel like it's definitely got snowball potential. I fully expect to see Scarf Waterspout Jellicent at some point, just because it's Shroom we're talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's gonna find a way to make things like Tornadus and Blaziken and Electabuzz do a lot of work. He's gonna need to show me that Noctowl is actually worth it, so I can not be mad at it anymore. But I definitely agree. While on paper, I don't think this is as immediately threatening. I feel like once other coaches start sitting down and trying to prep for Shroom, they're gonna feel a lot more threatened, especially once they start doing calcs like, oh wow, if Crocodile only has X investment, it can do this much to my team, and that's really threatening, and so on and so forth. I think I'm just gonna wait and see how this team plays out. I think Shroom is definitely the player to make this kind of squad work, and I don't think it's going to be as easy to use as it looks on paper. So yeah, exactly. I think we're gonna have to come back to this later on in the season. Cool. So, NecroStevo of the Eterna City Enders, Clefable, Scizor, Mega Abomasnow, Chandelure, Slowking, Pangoro, Zygarde, Rotomosh, and Xatu. You can take the lead on this one.
So there's another Dragon Fairy Steel Core, and he's got the Firewater Grass as well, which is always nice, but he picked Mega Abomasnow in the 3rd round, which I'm really hoping he has some sort of grand plan for Mega Abomasnow, because it's not like it's a Hail team or something, but Mega Abomasnow's nice, gets that Ice Shard, got huge attack, blah blah blah, can be special. One of my, I was taking notes, and one of the things that I wrote was, has Clefable, so that's going to be annoying to prep for everyone. And yeah, so
okay.
Initial thoughts.
From me or from you? From me?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
what are your initial thoughts?
This is a team that is gonna thrive on clever plays, keeping momentum, forcing switches. It's gonna be incredibly difficult to use. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that now. Having 4 times weak to fire mons on the same team, that's really, really scary. You look at his removal, he's got Defog, Scizor, and freaking Xatu. That's a little scary, a little spooky dooky. I'm not so sure about that. I feel 9 times out of 10 it's going to be T-Wave Clefable plus T-Wave Rotom. And then he's going to try and go for like slow sweeps with either Mega Abomasnow after everything's T-Waved, or Nasty Plot Slowking, or Calm Mind Slowking, and so on and so forth. That being said, he does have priority options in Scizor and Mega Abomasnow. He does have Scarfer options in Chandelure, Zygarde, kind of, Rotomosh. Xatu, I've seen Scarfed Xatu in the first or second season of the GPC, which actually did a decent chunk of work. And there's also the Trick Room option, which is, I feel 9 times out of 10 going to be the way that Necro is going to have to play this team. Either he's going to have to go, he needs to go all in the first half of the game and then try and keep his win conditions in the back so he can set up a Trick Room and just clean. Either Necro is going to just... I feel Necro is going to do really well, and then everyone's going to catch on to how he plays his team and how the team plays, and then he's just going to lose.
It does sort of have that vibe to it, like it's something that once you work out how he plays, it can be countered.
I mean, like, again, this comes down to other coaches psyching themselves out. Necro is gonna have to rely on people like over preparing for Trick Room, or not preparing for Trick Room enough, or making really great plays at really pivotal moments in the match, just to make sure that he wins based on whether he's faster or slower. It's going to require a lot more focus when EVing his mons, definitely looking at IVs a lot more, and I know that Necro, he doesn't gen his mon, he single-handedly breeds them, so if he's trying to get really particular IVs, I feel like that is going to be really difficult for him. I'm nervous for him. I want him to do well, simply because this is the first time I've ever seen Mega Abomasnow in draft format. But at the same time, I don't think that the team... I think he focused a little too much on the Trick Room aspect. I think he missed out a lot on hazards. He doesn't have hazards. He has Stealth Rock Clefable. Can we... Yep. That's it.
Does Zygarde get rocks?
No, it doesn't. Zygarde got so shafted. Zygarde should get rocks. Zygarde should get reliable dragon coverage outside of Dragon Tail and Outrage and so on and so forth. Wow.
Poor Zygarde. But that severely limits his Clefable as well. It's gonna be have to have that every week pretty much.
That is so bad.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay. Let's move on.
Onwards.
FranCTrode, FC Volcarona, Mega Guard, Starmie, Hippo, Cobalion, Rotom-Mow, Entei, Golbat, Snorlax, Poliwrath, Stoutland, and Spinda. Spinda's bad. Moving on. Mega Gardevoir. I think that Mega Gardevoir is infinitely better in this kind of format. In a price-based format rather than people just drafting teams from a list of mons, because it forces teams to have a range of quality, or you get people like Liam, UnlawfulExile, who get a really tight squad of quality things. Mega Gardevoir excels in this kind of format specifically because not only does it have good coverage, but it's really, really, really strong. Base 165 special attack is nothing to laugh at, especially because it's got a decent speed tier in base 100. It's definitely a lot more viable in this kind of league. However, it's really frail and can it loses to priority basically. Starmie, I had Starmie. I love Starmie. Starmie is really, really good. You can run it really bulky. You can run it really fast and powerful. You can use it to counter Weavile. It's a great mon, and it's very malleable. Whatever you needed to do, it can do it. It's great. It's fantastic. I love it. Hippowdon. It's a pretty decent wall. Usually, if you see a Hippowdon, you either assume that somebody's gonna try and pick up Driller plus Hippo, or Sandslash plus Hippo, or Stoutland plus Hippo. That's usually why you pick up Hippowdon.
Especially if the person drafting is from Spain, apparently. That seems to be a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but that being said, it's definitely not a bad wall. It gets access to Stealth Rock, gets access to reliable recovery. Good mon. Cobalion. It's good and bad. A lot of the time it's gonna run into issues where either it'll be just defensive all the time, with every once in a while he'll be offensive. It just really has the tools to be offensive, but I think I don't know. I feel like on this team it's gonna find a weird limbo-esque state where it'll not have a definite niche. I don't know. I'm not as another Stealth Rock option, as a poison immunity, as a check to slow mons. I think it's good, but at the same time, like, it's kind of weak. You're not gonna have a lot of opportunities to set up, specifically because it's bulky, but it's not like slow bro kind of bulky. I don't know. It's a mixed bag. If you know how to use it, you're gonna use it well. If you don't know how to use it, it's gonna sit on the bench. That's it. Rotom-Mow, ground immunity, ground check, Volt Switch options, Will-O-Wisp options. It's a good mon. The Rotom forms are good, hands down, as long as they suit the team. This Rotom does in fact suit the team. As you can see in the next pick, it fills out a Fire, Water, Grass core, and it gives Frank more momentum options outside of Cobalion. Entei, great mon. I mean, it's pretty good. It's one of the better fire types that are available, considering that it's got a decent speed tier, access to reliable priority, access to super powerful moves, and it's always a threat. It's one of those things that if people sleep on it, they're going to lose to it, but it's also relatively easy to prepare for, mostly because, again, while it's bulky, it's not that bulky. Golbat, fat as hell, defog option. Another form of, what's it called? Momentum, which is surprising considering that it is a wall. And
helps plug his fighting weakness as well.
Yeah. That being said, his team's still kind of weak to knock off plus reliable fighting stab move.
Yep.
I don't know. Like, Govet's okay. He's okay. He's okay. Snorlax. I freaking love Snorlax. Snorlax is the best. Snorlax can check Charizard Y in the sun. That's how good Snorlax is. I love Snorlax.
Snorlax is the worst.
No.
Snorlax.
It's the best. No, but in all seriousness, Snorlax is one of those mons that I think people just kind of lump it into that one niche where, okay, it's going to run Curse every single time it comes out. When it's not going to do that, because you can run Offensive Assault Vest, it can be a Pursuit Trapper, which is weird as hell, considering that it's like, this is just a big fat panda who can't move. How does it pursue things? I ain't going to talk about it. That's some Game Freak logic. It can definitely work as a Resto Chesto user. It's kind of the perfect special sponge, if we're gonna really think about it. It serves as a fire check, a ice type check, which is pretty good when you look at the rest of the team. Like, albeit you can have AV Entei, but still, it definitely helps out with the rest of the team. I like it. Snorlax is just a really reliable mon, and I feel like Frank can definitely make use of it. Poliwrath is a Scald immunity and can be offensive or defensive, but I'm not sure how fantastic it's going to be on this team.
I think it's just a mon that Frank loves, to be honest. I think it might just be like a personal favourite that he's gone, oh yeah.
I agree. Like, I don't see a reason to draft it outside of the Scald immunity. Maybe he has some sort of grand master plan. I don't know. We're gonna have to watch that one. And then Stoutland, because if you have a Hippo, you need to abuse Sand. Somehow, Stoutland was available. Easy peasy, bam, done. Nobody was gonna pick up Stoutland unless they had like a Tyranitar or something. Or Hippopotas, because everyone knows that Hippopotas is the most reliable wall in League format. Team as a whole doesn't like knockoff, doesn't like fighting coverage, just it doesn't like really powerful physical type moves. Like, the best you can have is a Violate Golbat, and that just loses after it gets its Violate knocked off. He's gonna struggle a whole lot, and he's either gonna need to either outspeed all of these really quick physical attackers, out prep them, like have berries on stuff and so on and so forth, or just run Scarfers or run priority everywhere. I don't know. I think that's the most glaring weakness on the team. Well, is there anything else?
One of the things about Frank is that he's like generally a fairly busy dude. If you've watched his videos, he generally doesn't have a lot of time. But he's got a team that sort of, you're going to need to prep a lot for some stuff, and I'm not sure he's going to have the time to do that.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah, I'm nervous for him. Not from a team standpoint, but just from like a real life standpoint. Like, I don't know how he's gonna juggle this, because this eats up a lot of your time, like a lot more than I initially expected, especially having played in the format. I don't know. Again, this is one of those teams that is gonna be remained to be seen. Like, see how well it does.
For sure.
Cool. FooFoo, Newcastle United, winner of the first D-League?
Yes.
Yeah. Rachi, Nidoqueen, Togekiss, Jolteon, Tyrantrum, Talonflame, Hariyama, Gourgeist, Liepard, and Mega Blastoise. This is a weird draft. Like, as a cohesive unit, this is really just thoroughly strange. It's just weird. It's just weird. It's wow. Wow, that is weird. Okay.
I mean, he got his cores. He got Firewater Grass and Dragon Fairy Steel. So there's stuff there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Just.
I mean, it's hard to discount FooFoo because he's such a
He's an excellent player, and he's an excellent prepper, from what I remember. Although that being said, when he won the D-League, didn't he have like Mega Pinsir plus Kyurem Black?
Something ridiculous like that, yeah.
So let's go ahead and analyze each of the picks. Jirachi can be physical, can be special, can be a wall, stealth arc option. It's one of those psychic types that is just really reliable in whatever it really does. However, it's one of those things that, depending on your team, it's gonna dictate what Jirachi can do. Obviously, you can flinch things down. We're not gonna talk about that because that's a shitty way to win. Schady, I'm calling you out. Yeah, I don't know. We're gonna talk about the team as a whole later. Nidoqueen, stealth arc option, spike option, can be just a hugely fat mon. Unfortunately, it doesn't get a reliable recovery, but at the same time, it can be a hugely threatening special attacker, and just incredibly reliable. It's one of those mons that I myself have never really used, but at the same time, like, I definitely understand the merits of having it on your team, because having walls that deter setup is really good. It's just a really good thing in League format, specifically because, like, it forces what could be win conditions to not actually be win conditions, because you've just got, like, this sleeper offensive threat on your team. Defogger, Togekiss, Heal Bell, reliable recovery, another Serene Grace user. God, I hate Togekiss. Fits the team, kind of. I'm not so sure. We're gonna talk about it later. Again, it's really reliable in League format. Checks the hell out of every single fighting type. Like, I don't care if you have a Cobalion or Lucario, it'll check it with Thunder Wave plus Air Slash, because that's what good players do. Oh dear lord. It's just a really reliable one. It's one of those Clefables or Florges or Aromateces. Like, it's just a really reliable fairy type. That's the niche it fulfills, and it fulfills it well. Jolteon, Electric Immunity, Volt Switch options, crap move pool, can be Life Orb, Expert Belt, or Specs, and that's pretty much all it does. Tyrantrum, Scarf, Band, Dragon Dance, it just smacks stuff and then dies because it's not bulky.
All that matters is head smash. There was only head smash. There was only head smash.
Yeah. Talonflame, weird pick, especially on this team. I think you can. I myself have gotten a lot better with Talonflame lately, because, like, I know the benefits. Like, I know that if I have Spadef Talonflame with bulk up, after X amount of bulk ups, I can beat this potential threat to me, because I can run bulk up Willow, Roost, Bird Move, and then be able to get around my counters. There's also the fact that he's got wall breaking potential in potential Specs Jolteon, potential Tyrantrum. He's going to have rocks up with Jirachi and possibly Tyrantrum, and then he's got support from Nidoqueen and Togekiss. Like, it's a weird, not entirely optimal support mechanism for Talonflame, but in the right situation, I think it can work. But Talonflame is definitely in a mixed bag. Like, you can just get bopped by random hidden power rock from the fuck, just a Togepi or something. I don't know. It's just random rock coverage is just the bane of Talonflame's existence. One of the mons that I'm gonna have to see how well FooFoo uses and how well it performs in his games. Hariyama, priority, stab, close combat, fire and ice type check. It's basically the more immediately offensive Snorlax. And it can actually, it's if you know how to use it, you're going to use it well, it's going to be amazing. If you don't know how to use it, it's just going to sit there and take hits and die. That's it. That's all it's going to do. Can run Guts. It does get a third ability. Don't know what it is, probably because it's irrelevant outside of Guts and Thick
Sheer
Fat.
Force.
Sheer Force. Ooh. That could be weird.
Yeah.
That could be weird. Like, FooFoo is, like, kind of like Shroom, but a different, like, a lesser form of Shroom. Like, he's not as crazy. I don't know. I think, again, it's one of those mons where I'm going to have to see it to really think that it's a good pick. Gourgeist, fighting type check. Gets Explosion, gets Will-O-Wisp, gets Leech Seed, Reliable Recovery. It's just fat. And I believe he can use all forms of it, which I think is a really important note. I don't believe that was specified when the draft was going on, or I just missed it. But yeah, Gourgeist, I like it, but it's a lower tier pick when you throw it in with things like Clefable and Mega Sableye and so on and so forth. It's not as amazing, but it's still pretty decent at what it does. Lipard, prankster shenanigans, basically.
Thunderwave!
Yeah, basically. Another really weird pick that we're gonna have to see what he does with it. Gets Stab Knockoff, can be run special, gives him Volt Turn, more of a Volt Turn core with if you throw it in with Rachi, Jolteon, Talonflame, and itself. Just strange. Thoroughly strange. Mega Blastoise, another form of removal, a really powerful special attacker. Mega Blastoise is incredibly reliable, and God, this team is... I can't talk about this team, Lion. This is a weird team, and... Okay. He's got removal options, he's got hazard options when you lump in Tyranitar, Rachi, Nidoqueen, I don't think seeds count, but I'm gonna throw them in anyway.
Sure.
Because it counts as chip damage. He's got priority in Talonflame and Hariyama. He's got pretty decent special offense when you throw in Mega Blastoise to the mix. He's a little lacking in like immediate... I don't know. He's got a Tyrantrum. Tyrantrum's a pretty immediate physical offensive presence. I think this is another... I think this is one of those things where I'm gonna have to see it in action to like really make a judgment call about whether I think this is a good team or a bad team. I think it is a really thoroughly strange team, not only to build with but also to prep for, especially because when you factor in I have to deal with Bird and Tyrantrum together. That's a little spooky. That's a little spooky.
I'm looking forward to him T-waving 6 Mons and then just clicking Head Smash. That's the dream.
Just run.
Everything's paralyzed. Banded Tyrantrum comes in.
A taunt T-wave Lipard saves the day.
Yeah.
Oh my lord. It's just a thoroughly strange team.
I feel like his hand was forced at the end to Mega Blastoise because of the Talonflame pickup. Like, I'm sure there was lots of other Megas like left, but he needed that extra removal. That might have.
I mean, when you see how like deliberate the last 4 or so picks are, like 16 is a weird price. It's a weird pricing. So I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say that he actually planned for it.
He planned that, yeah.
I don't know. It's just it's weird. I'm gonna have to see how he plays with it and how people prep for it.
I'm looking forward to seeing it in action.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, you have your notes ready?
Yep, turn the page.
Slyroh, Pittsburgh Pyroar, Mega Altaria, Weavile, Arcanine, Roserade, Bronzong, Hitmontop, Cofagrigus, Sandslash, Hydreigon, Lantern. Good God, this team! Wow, that is a huge pain to prep for.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm gonna rant a little bit about Mega Altaria. Basically, Sly's gonna need to prep really, really well with Mega Altaria every single week, or else Mega Altaria is gonna do nothing. And because that's just the way Mega Altaria is. it's one of those things that you can run 4 or 5 different sets really, really well, and if you don't pick the right set, it's not going to do as much work, or it's just not going to do anything at all besides sponge hits and roost and so on and so forth, or hero and so on and so forth. Weavile, probably the best dark type in League format, and while I think that's debatable, I think it gets a slight edge out on things like Tyranitar and Crocodile in the form that not only is it fast and powerful, gets a great move pool and priority, and it's stab ice type coverage, while it's really crap for its defensive capabilities. It threatens so many things, like dark ice, that not a lot of things want to switch into those kinds of moves outside of a really, really bulky water type or other bulky dark type. I don't even know if there's a. I mean, technically, Crook could switch in if it was like Yachi Crook, but dark types typically aren't inherently bulky.
No.
Yeah. Arcanine, just a really solid pick. It's always going to perform well. It's always going to do what you want it to do. It's one of those things that if you see a matchup where defensive Arcanine isn't as good, you can look at it again. Hey, offensive Arcanine, it's actually viable. I don't like Arcanine because playing against it is a pain in the ass. I lost to one last season because I got crit by one.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think I got crit turn 1 by one. So I'm like, I have a love-hate relationship. From an analyst standpoint, it's a great mon, it's always reliable, and it's always going to do what you want it to do. From a player standpoint, I hate it. I wanted to get it out of my face. And shout out to loud motorbikes directly outside of my window. Moving on. Roserade can be offensive, can be defensive. Spikes, toxic spikes, reliable recovery. It's a good mon. It's spooky to prepare for. One of those mons where either you prep well with it and it does well, or you don't prep well with it and it does nothing. Bronzong, really good steel type. Runs the risk of having things set up on it, but you can kind of tailor yourself to that with Gyro Ball and other coverage moves. Gives him another form of hazards, and can go boom, which is good considering if you want like a suicide lead, then Bronzong's your man. Him on top, probably the best kind of bulky spinner.
It's the best Hitmon in the format.
I mean, depending on the team, it's between Hitmonlee and Hitmon top. Chan is just the unloved stepchild, I feel.
Poor Chan.
Just give it reliable dark coverage and then it'll be so much better, but the fact that it just can get walled by ghost types is absolutely ridiculous. Top gets Intimidate, huge special bulk, like base 130? 110? Something ridiculous. And you can run Technotop as well, which is actually kind of threatening, especially when you think that a lot of the moves that it gets is below 60 base power. Obviously gets Rapid Spin. Just a really solid mon, basically.
For sure.
Cofagrigus can be a win condition, is a really good check to mons that rely, physical mons that rely on their abilities to do work. Again, one of those ghost types that can run Willow Hex really well. It's another form of spikes, which is pretty interesting. I can kind of see why Slyroh picked it, because there's a slight fighting weakness so far in the draft. But like, yeah, I mean, I like it. Like, it's not gonna be one of those picks where people are gonna question it, unless you have like a Chandelure as well or something like that. Like, it's a solid mon. It's always gonna be solid. Sandslash. Don't know why he picked up Sandslash, other than the fact that it's another form of removal. And it's an electric type immunity. Don't know why you have that when you have a Mega Altaria and a Roserade. It's a rocker, because you. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it at this point in time. Hydreigon. I don't know how to say it. Wow, hugely threatening. Makes the Cofagrigus pick a lot more relevant. Especially considering that you can just go from like Scarf Hydreigon and Cofagrigus, pivot out into another threatening Amon, so on and so forth. I like it. It adds more offense to what seems to be a pretty bulk heavy team so far. And then last pick, Lantern.
Gives him a skull twitching. That's basically what I thought.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. But I don't think that's the best use of those points. I think for 11 points, you could have definitely gotten a better form of removal. I mean, like, you do have a him on top. I respect that, but I don't know. Looking at the team overall, I feel like more often than not, it's gonna have to be like Heal Bell support Altaria, which is unfortunate because like when you look at that, the team is not hugely offensive. Like Weavile's directly offensive, Arcanine can be offensive, Roserade can be offensive, Cofagrigus can be a defensive setup sweeper, and then Hydreigon can be incredibly offensive. I don't think it's a bad team. I don't think it's as good as it could have been.
It's probably fairly accurate, I'd say. He's got, you know, 2 of the 4 best dark types offensively in the format in Weavile and Hydreigon, so that's got to be a threat to a lot of teams. There is the potential for hyper offense, but only sort of with 6 mons. Like, you'd have to run like Techni-Top as your on a hyper offense team probably, but it's, you know, it's a bulky team. There's offensive options. He sort of tried to plug his lack of hazards and removal with Sandslash, but outside of that, Sandslash is garbage.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he sort of had a plan, and then he looked back at it and went, oh shit, I don't have a Scald switch in, and then picked up whatever it could get.
I think
that's sort of the end.
Yeah, it shows a lot of growth in terms of experience in the format and willing to try new things. Sly definitely prefers having bulkier teams, and sometimes that bites him in the ass, just because, well, bulky teams are somewhat predictable because, like, oh wow, I need to maintain my health with this mon, here let me switch into this mon. That's kind of obvious. You have a coverage move, bop whatever comes in, he feels threatened, switches it again, he just gets nervous and switches. There's bad news bears. I think he needs to be smart with his prep. It's gonna force him to make relatively good plays in terms, and when I mean good, I mean like not just, oh okay, I'm gonna predict this to come in. No, I mean like high risk, high reward plays, like staying in with a Weavile on like a sock or something dumb. Just something just really dumb, but pays out hugely. And I think that's the way that Slyroh is going to get his team to shine. Cool.
Yes.
The last 3 teams have just been incredibly strange. Jesus. Alright. OnesieBanette of the AS Monferno, previously the Kelta Dino. Victini, Sableye, Zapdos, Escavalier, Marowak, Suicune, Regirock, Whimsicott, Curum, Sock, and Bayleaf.
Now there's a pick.
Is he just... people making... that's such a waste. Alright. So, starting off with what a lot of people previously thought was the best, or one of the best, non-Mega Mons of the format, Victini. Can be special, can be physical, has the highest base-powered stab move in the game, which is pretty neato. And gets an accuracy boost, which makes its moves that much more scary. It's a good mon, especially when you think of it as... It's like a Mega Altaria, basically. You prep well with it, it's going to do well. You don't prep well with it, you're not going to do well. Pairing that with Mega Stabili, that's a really, really strong core directly out of the gate. Deters hazard setup. Mega Stabili can definitely set up and win late game after Victini comes in, taunts things, V creates things, blue flares things. Like, yeah, double fire coverage, that could definitely work. Depending on the team. Reliable recovery on Mega Stabili, which is also absolutely fantastic. And it's just really annoying. Both Victini and Mega Stabili are incredibly annoying, and I feel like them together are definitely going to be a pain for people to deal with. Zapdos, one of the more reliable defoggers in the League metagame. Reliable recovery, reliable removal, distinct lack of flying stab, and also often runs into 4 move slot syndrome, which, depending on the team, may or may not cause huge issues to Onesie. Escavalier round 4. That's a little strange. Well, it's not strange
as Marowak round 5, but...
Well, we're gonna get to that.
I just had to point that out.
Woo! We're gonna get to that in a minute. Good grief. Okay. So, Escavalier can be super duper bulky. I mean, it is super duper bulky. Really, really slow, but really, really powerful. It's probably gonna get a kill and a half before itself dies. That's pretty much all it's gonna do. It doesn't have any priority options, and its forms of physical offense are all relatively predictable. Gives them really powerful knockoff, really powerful iron heads, really powerful mega horns, kinda strong drill runs, and that's pretty much it. It's a Escavalier. It's RU for a reason. Slow, easy to prep for, and it could have been given so many more tools than it has, basically. Marowak round 5. Wow. Damn. Like, what? If you okay, it's one. Look, basically, there's a rule when looking at people's teams objectively. If you draft a weird mod really early in the draft, you either really, really wanted it, or you need to be really comfortable with it. I was giving Onesie the benefit of the doubt when he picked up Escavalier so early on in the draft. But Marowak, the mon that is shakily good at best in PU. Oh my goodness.
There's been some, like, people picking up mons that they're comfortable with, like, lower tier stuff later on, like, you know, a Noctowl or a Poliwrath, but a Marowak in round 5, there has to be some sort of story behind that, surely.
I'm gonna have to watch his draft analysis to see whatever the hell he was thinking, but regardless, it's a hugely slow, hugely powerful physical attacker, not unlike Escavalier. Gets access to stealth rocks. I
want to see him bring it week 1 and lead with it, and then he probably never bring it again. Would be the dream.
Oh my god! I don't want. If I talk any more about it, I'm gonna start being negative. So we're gonna
move right on.
Yeah, Suicune, really good water type actually. It gets access to Tailwind, which can really mess with people. Can be offensive. Obviously, you can run Crocoon or some variant of Crocoon. I think it's definitely a viable mon in League format. A lot of people are just going to go ahead and assume you're going to bring Crocun, which means Crocun is instantly less viable. That being said, with the right prep and the right team support, you can get around Crocun's checks fairly easily, especially when you have a Victini's Mega Sableye core. Yeah. Ridgerock, really reliable Stealth Rocker, really reliable Bird Check, really reliable Mon just in general. Like, even super effective moves. You have to stay in like a Specs Hydro Pump from like a freaking, I don't even know, like a Kingdra in the Rain. Like, you need to stay in on like really ridiculous things with Ridgerock for it to go down in one hit. Like, Ridgerock's dumb. Ridgerock's really dumb. Especially when you consider that it gets T-Wave plus Drain Punch. Like, it's going to get chip damage on whatever comes in to try and check it. Or whatever it comes in checking itself. It's really reliable. I mean, there's not much negative to say about it. Whimsicott, Prankster, Tailwind, Memento, U-Turn, Moonblast, Giga Drain. Does stuff. Taunt. It's just deterrent to things that don't like grass plus fairy coverage, which is a decent chunk of things. Gets shut down fairly easily by steel types and poison types, but that's what U-Turn is for, and that's what the remainder of the team is for. Kyurem. I have mixed feelings about Kyurem. I like it. I like it and don't like it on this team. I feel like this team as a whole, at this point in time, is going to rely super duper heavily on any form of Tailwind that it can get. Like, I can see Scarf Kyurem doing work. Okay, fine. Scarf Marowak, I suppose. Scarf Teeny is always an option. Speed is definitely an issue for the team at this point. I'm not sure if Kyurem really fulfills that. Like, base 95 is pretty decent, but I mean, like, Steel Fairy Dragon Core, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. It's a good mon. Just, I don't know how fitting it is for this team. Sock is a really good fighting type, actually. Having Mold Breaker or Sturdy as options is really, really fantastic, and when you slap a choice band on it, there's not many things that really want to switch into it. I mean, like, currently in NU, a lot of people are just running multiple mons with Cobra Berry just to check freaking Sock. Like, that's how metagame defining it is, and it has the move pool. It's relatively fast, it's really powerful, and it definitely gets the job done, and especially considering that it's only 5 mil, it's a really good fighting type, considering the price range and considering how late in the draft it was picked up. Bayleaf is bad. Okay, team as a whole, I don't have a lot of faith in this team. Like, Victini, Sableye, Zapdos, really strong. It's just a lot of picks really early on in the draft that really shouldn't be that early. Escavalier round 4, Marowak round 5. That is a waste. That is a waste of those pick slots. You're putting those mons on the same level as like Jolteon, as like Tangrowth. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, I get it if you are really comfortable with Escavalier, but Marowak, come on. Ah, my lord.
Yeah. He also, like, after sort of wasting his mid-round picks, he relied on his, like, sort of last 2 for his extra offense. Like, he sort of drafted a bunch of walls in the middle and some garbage in the middle, and then sort of went, oh shit, Kyurem, so sure. That's power. There you go. That'll fix my problems.
I definitely agree. I think Escavalier is not going to perform well at all. I don't think Marowak is going to perform well at all. If you Bayleaf was a waste because everyone was deciding to pick stupid things at the end of the draft because I don't know. That's what they decided to do. I think Victini, Sableye, Zapdos, Suicune, and then slap anything from round, what is it, 7 to 10 is basically what he's going to bring every single week, just because coherently they're going to perform well. Like, no matter what, you prep well, you play well, those are going to do well. That's the give and take of what's going on. I think he's definitely going to struggle. I think that while he did it for the banter, I don't know if Escavalier and Marowak rounds 4 and 5 are going to benefit him in any way, shape, or form later on into the season. But again, I'm not wanting to make any super concrete calls at this point in time, especially considering that the season hasn't even started yet. Anything else you want to say?
You sort of think about the offense that he could have got with the points from Escavalier, Marowak, and things like Kyurem and Sork that he got later. Like, there was surely stuff still available for, 14, 15 points in round 4 that would have been far better options.
I mean, like, you look at things like Thunder's Eye went after Marowak, Talonflame went after Marowak, Reuniclus went after Marowak. It's just a lot of really reliable and high quality things that went after these mons, and he's gonna suffer for it. He's gonna suffer for it.
Yep.
Okay. Under the Radar, Baltimore Braviaries, Infernape, Azumarill, Fortress, Amoonguss, Reuniclus, Alomomola, Umbreon, Miltank, Flygon, Mega Manectric, and Persian. I'm gonna go up front and say that I hate the way that Kelly drafts. He's one of the people who have the mindset of, alright, bulk means I win, which is true when you're playing against bad players. And at this point in time, I think in terms of skill, I'm pretty sure the people who struggle the most skill-wise, and I'm gonna be brutally honest, is gonna be like Jack and Slyroh. However, they also have the benefit of having played 3 seasons in a relatively competitive league, and that's in turn caused them to draft better and hopefully prep better. Kelly has issues with prep, and especially like he in D2 he had Unaware Clefable and still managed to get swept by Calm Mind Sweepers. That shouldn't happen, especially with the way that he drafts. But he's made an effort to change it, and I respect that. Infernape it's a mixed bag, definitely a mixed bag. It's gonna rely on Kelly really looking at his matchup and looking at all the options that he has on the table. I think Infernape is one of those things that he's gonna like, alright, I know Infernape is gonna do work here, let's go ahead and look at everything else before I come back to Infernape. I think that's the way he's gonna need to prep his Infernape, especially after plugging holes with the rest of his team. Gives him huge special offense, huge physical offense, gives him priority, gives him U-turn, can be defensive with Stealth Rock, Slack Off, U-turn, Fire Punch, so on and so forth, whatever. Again, it's going to require really good prep and really good playing, really good playing. It's one of those things that if you don't respect it, it's just gonna die. Azumarill. As a round 2 pick, I like when the drafts first started, I'm like, okay, in front of Azumarill, that's a really not Kelly draft, really not. That's weird. That's offense. That's not Kelly. That's weird. Gives him priority. Gives him really powerful physical offense. it's just a really good mon. Like people are gonna fear it, and that is really good. It forces over prep, which you can capitalize on with the remainder of your draft. After Zoomer, we get into a Kelly-like draft. Jesus Christ, this is gross. Fortress, Amoonguss, Reuniclus, Alomomola, Umbreon, Miltank, Flygon. All of those have varying degrees of offense. I mean, like Reuniclus is a huge offensive threat. It's just I'm gonna come back to that later. Fortress, removal, hazards, Volt Switch, kind of shaky spinner, especially because it's really easy to prep for and it doesn't have that much of an offensive presence. Jesus.
Presence.
Yes, I guess I was trying to get fancy with it. I don't know. It's getting late over here.
Yeah.
Mixed bag. It's expensive too, especially considering the quality of the spinner. Like 9 mil for Fortress is a little expensive. Amoonguss deters Trick Room, gives him a reliable Sporemon, can be physically defensive, can be offensive actually if you slap on an Assault Vest or Life Orb even. Like it can definitely be offensive. I mean, I like it. Like I didn't like Fortress Amoonguss considering that like it makes thick fat Zoomer viable, which is not good. But I'm not going to say that it's not a reliable mon. Reuniclus. I was talking to Kelly prior to the season starting, and he was talking about a completely different draft, and I'm not going to go on to say about like what he was thinking about getting, but he definitely was looking at Reuniclus, and I definitely respect that he ended up picking it up. Reuniclus is a mon that people really underestimate how fantastic it is, on not only a bulk standpoint, but also on a offensive prowess standpoint. It's no slouch, and especially when you consider that reliable recovery plus Magic Guard Life Orb attacks, and the move pool of a good Psychic type, that is scary. Alomomola, God, you are disgusting, get out of my face. Great Wall, that's all I'm going to say about it. However, can run the risk of being set up auto depending on what comes in on it, and depends on the prep. Kelly needs to prep more with it to make sure that it is not set up auto. Alomomola plus Umbreon means that you've got a Wish Core that will literally never die. I'm not even kidding, like it just won't. He could just toxic your stuff and then switch indefinitely, and then he would just win. And that's disgusting. That's dumb. That's disgusting. Can run Curse Pass. I have lost to Curse Pass. Shoutouts to Shroom. I don't know. It's a good mon. Just period. Miltank, Stealth Rocks, reliable recovery, another fat mon. Moving on. Flygon, probably the shittiest of all the pseudo legendaries because of those middling stats, relatively poor move pool, and general predictability. Yeah, I mean, it's another form of removal, another form of Stealth Rocks, so on and so forth. Mega Manectric, offensive option, cool, fantastic. Gives him Volt Turn, gives him
Intimidate.
Yeah, and gives him really powerful Thunderbolts and so on and so forth. Like it definitely deters other setup and so on and so forth. And then Persian, which it's an okay pick, especially because you got Prankster, whatever it is. Prankster Soak Scarf shenanigans, like it does decent enough damage. Team as a whole, I mean it's
fat.
It's disgusting. Basically, this is a team that will lose to Taunt. It straight up loses to Taunt. Like unless he runs multiple mons with Mental Herb, it loses to Taunt. Like I don't like, how does he beat a Crobat plus support? Like he doesn't. He doesn't beat it. That's the thing. A well played Crobat or a well played mon with fast Taunt wins. It just beats the team. Like, I respect the fact that he's definitely going more offensive with Infernape, Azumarill, Reuniclus, Mega Manectric, and kind of Persian, but when your whole team loses to Taunt, That's bad news bears. That's pretty bad. That being said, I crap on Kelly a lot because I know Kelly, and I enjoy crapping on him because I don't know, I'm a mean person basically. That being said, having that much bulk and having that much reliable recovery means that if he plays well, his team should never die. Like, he's got 2 Mons with huge wishes. He's got Heal Bell with Umbreon. He's got all of his respectably bulky things, Fortress omitted, have reliable recovery in some way, shape, or form, whether it be through Regenerator or Wish or Roost or so on and so forth. It's gonna weed out the bad players. Like, if you don't know how to beat fat teams, then you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose. If you don't know how to prep for it, you're gonna lose, basically. And sometimes he's going to win because of that. Would I have liked to see better offensive options? Yeah, but I'm not gonna discredit Infernape, Azumarill, Reuniclus, Manectric. Like, those 4 together are definitely scary. And then you throw in like a Alomomola, Umbreon. That's a really powerful core. That's a really powerful team. So he doesn't have to run fatness every single week. He can if he wants to, but he can also run a really offensive team to really throw people off. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a team where he mixes up his options, and depending on how he mixes them up, if he does well, he wins. If he doesn't do well, or the other guy predicts it, he'll lose.
Yep. He hit both the Fire Water Grass and the Dragon Fairy Steel cores, but the dragon in question is Flygon, so it's a weakness. And his best hazard setter and hazard remover are the same mon, really, because you don't burying Flygon. You're probably looking to U-turn or be Bandit Outrage or something for an end game thing. So Fortress is it's not the most reliable of hazard removal.
I mean, when you look at it, you got Rocks Ape, Rocks and Spikes Fortress, Rocks Miltank, Rocks Umbreon. Like, he has rocks. He does have rocks. Like,
rocks for days.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just how he handles it and how he manages to keep his up and the opponent's away is definitely going to determine the tide of matches. Especially because, like, once somebody gets their rocks up, how are you going to maintain offensive presence to make sure that Kelly can't get rid of it, or vice versa?
Yep.
Alright, 11th. Travesty of the North Melbourne Kangaskhan's Latios, Excadrill, Emboar, Tangrowth, Mega Aldino, Thunderous Eye, Tyranitar, Slowbro, and Quillfish. Kind of a weird team, again, but definitely threatening. Latios are probably the most reliable defoggers in the game outside of Skarmory. Offensive presence, obviously, with the Latios, great move pool, can run Memento for momentum purposes. Excadrill, I'm pretty sure Trav tupped himself, which means that he picked up Excadrill and then somebody else picked up Powdon. If you want Sand, pick up make sure you pick up Hippo before you pick up any Sand Sweeper, just because while Excadrill is good, if you pick Stoutland and then you try to go Hippo, somebody's gonna pick it up. People don't want people with weather. Weather is difficult to prepare for when you have the right kind of team, because you'll prepare for Sand and then depending on your team you'll end up losing to some other form of, I don't know, whatever team, I suppose.
Something else.
The remainder of the team, I guess, is the correct terminology.
Yeah.
Emboar can be physical, can be special, really scary with Reckless, Banded Reckless Flare Blitzes. That's a little spooky. That's a little spooky. Basically is roughly as powerful as V-Create after Reckless, I believe. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, Emboar's an interesting one. Really slow, which is a huge detriment to it. So a lot of the time it's gonna have to have T-Wave support or Tailwind support or just be Scarfed and so on and so forth. but it's definitely scary, especially because you're not going to know whether it's mixed or biased to physical or special until you actually play the game. Tangrowth, monotype grass with regenerator and sleep powder and so on and so forth. It's just a really reliable mon. Can be offensive, obviously. It's just a good mon. Same with Mega Aldino. Really reliable Mega. It's kind of passive, but depending on how you build your team, can definitely sweep teams with the Crodino set. Thunder's Eye, really scary. Can sweep teams with Nasty Plot, can T-Wave things to make them slower for Embor and Excadrill. Great coverage, momentum options, can be physical, can be mixed. It's one of those things that you're not going to know what it does until you play it, and that's really scary. Tyranitar gave Travesty Sand, as well as the fact that it gives him not another form of Stealth Rocks. It gives him a reliable Pursuit Trapper, can be mixed again. Kind of a special sponge, especially when you slap an AV on it and stick it in sand. It's really, really bulky, and I feel like more often than not it's going to be mixed just to make things like Will-O-Wisp, which previously would check it, a little bit less annoying. Slowbro next. Slowbro really late in the draft. Like really, really late in the draft. Fills out a regenerator core with Tangrowth. Gives him Fire, Water, Grass, which is super duper cool. Can set up and win. Can itself be a Calm Mind Sweeper, which is super duper cool. Can be offensive with Nasty Plot, I believe. Doesn't it get Nasty Plot? I'm pretty sure it gets Nasty Plot. Can also be a Trick Room setter, which is also interesting looking at the team. Goldfish, last pick, Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Intimidate. I think it can also go Boom. Going Boom is a really pivotal thing for me, apparently.
Seems to be. Explosion? Does get Explosion.
Alright. My voice is starting to get hoarse, so you can take the lead on this one.
Are we doing the next team? Or
No. You
keep talking about this.
Aye.
Yeah. He sort of lacks immediate offense, in my opinion. Sort of, you kind of want to get Sand up for Excadrill, or you want to Calm Mind up with Laddie, or stuff like that. So he's got really good cores in the Dragon, Fairy Steel, and the Fire, Water, Grass, and the Regenerator and all that stuff. Like there's bulk there, and there's some offensive pressure, but in order to sort of get really going, you want something to set up first.
I mean,
it was sort of the weakness that I saw.
Yeah, you're talking about like there's certain prerequisites that need to be met, like Sand or T-Wave.
Yeah, it's just things need to fall into place, but then he can go to town.
Yeah.
Various things.
I mean, like looking at the team, it's not like that's gonna be difficult for him.
No, it's a very spooky team for sure. Like, it's probably one of the, and yeah, the sort of the more passive Mega was interesting to me because he does have sort of offense around it, so he can sort of get away with the more support-ish Mega, but maybe something more immediately threatening might have worked better there, but that's just my brain going build hyper offense rather than
a cohesive team.
Yeah.
I mean, like, as much as I hate Mega Aldino, like I can see it on this team, especially because it gives it Heal Bell support most importantly. I think it's gonna be extremely valuable to Trav. But yeah, no, I agree. Like, the only things that are immediately threatening are like Latios and then some forms of Thunderous Eye.
He's probably got some of the best sort of hazard setting and removing like options. Like he's got, T-Spikes, Spikes, Rocks on multiple things, Defog, Rapid Spin. He's got that really covered as well, which is something that other teams don't have.
I think this is kind of the team that went over, alright, I want quality over quantity, and they did it well. They prioritized picks. I mean, it's a really, really well done draft. I have very little to complain about here.
for sure. And he got some really good stuff like really late, like T-Tar and Slyroh.
Exactly.
Whatever round that is. Very good pickups that late.
So I think 7 and 8 T-Tar and Slyroh, respectively. Cool.
Very nice.
Last team, an hour and a half in, RTK of the Portland Timbers, Melodic, Shaman, Rotom, Heat, Donphan, Gudra, Gardevoir, Mandibuzz, Scyther, and Bisharp. I don't see any really offensive things here. I don't see them. I mean, they...
Bisharp?
This is the only one. This is the only one.
Yeah, and he got it round 9. So...
Alright, let's talk about this. When I saw that RTK went round 1 Melodic, I didn't like it. I didn't think that was a good pick for him, in the fact that it's... excuse me. It's probably the best bulky water in League format, but I definitely think he could have prioritized a first round pick over it, especially considering that he had the wheel pick. Albeit I'm not sure Shaman would have made it to the next round, but you're putting Melodic on the same level as like Victini, Clefable, and Manaphy, which is why I'm kind of curling at it.
Yeah.
However, RTK is comfortable with this kind of team. Well, not with this kind of team, with this kind of with Melodic plus Shaman. So I'm like, okay, alright, fine, whatever. But let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it. Melodic, best bulky water in the game, reliable recovery, great abilities, great move pool, so on and so forth. Moving on. Shaman, can be offensive, can be defensive, I don't know, I don't know about defensive, but can definitely be bulky to help check things. Seed Flare is always nice, especially for those special defense drops, forcing switches, so on and so forth. Rotom Heat, my mascot gives him Volt switch options, powerful overheats should he go for Specs or Scarf, trick options, Will-O-Wisp options, ground immunity, which he didn't really need, but the first 3 picks together solidified his Fire Water Grass Core. Donphan, Stealth Rocks plus removal. It's better in this kind of format because the level of removal and setting is not anywhere near as good. Gudra, really fat, basically will just get really good chip damage on everything and just won't freaking die. I hate Gudra. It's good. I hate it as a player. It's terrible. It's so aggravating to play against. Gardevoir. Okay, I may have skipped Gardevoir when I went over his offensive options. Another Trick Scarf option, definitely a threatening special attacker. I mean, there's not much else to say, really. I mean, besides that it can do Trick Scarf plus Healing Wish, I suppose. Mandibuzz, removal, knockoff, U-turn, gives him Volt Turn, I suppose. Scyther, SD sweeper kind of band user. I mean, it's got a pretty decent speed here, but like you're putting this thing up against monsters like freaking like Excadrill and things that can just wall it really easily. Oh man. And it's 6 mil.
It's one of those ones that I want to see do well. Yeah, I don't know if it will. I don't know if it'll do what I want to do.
Yeah. And last round, Bisharp gives him Pursuit and Sucker Punch and so on and so forth. Another SD sweeper, but
rounds out his Dragon Fairy Steel as well.
Exactly. Team as a whole.
I'll go. Yeah, no Mega was one of the glaring things for the overall like team thing. I'm sure there was still Megas available at round 8 or something. Once he'd sort of wound out his call, and he might have not gotten Bisharp, but he probably would have benefited from the offensive pressure that a Mega can bring. you draft sort of bulk first 2 rounds, and you're going to miss out on some of the more offensive things, like Weavile and what else I'm after, Azumarill and Fundy and all that, like Nidoking, all these sort of things. And I think he suffers because of that, but he's got really, really strong cores and some really good mons, but whether he'll be able to create enough offensive pressure to win games with his sort of balance style is questionable.
Yeah. I think you went too deep in bulk. I think you went too deep in quality and doesn't have the offensive options to back it up. Like, Gardevoir gets beaten by a good steel type. Like, the only thing he has to beat a good steel type is Rotom Heat, and that's really predictable. It's a team that, if you can't break bulk, you're going to lose against it. It's going to force RTK to really play outside of the box, think and play outside of the box. I don't know. I wouldn't get behind this team. If I'm not saying it's bad, but I am saying that I feel mistakes were made. Okay.
He certainly got quality bulk, but
But he just missed. He just missed out so much on offensive presence.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know. I guess let's end this off with, what is your favorite team?
Oh man. Fuck. Gotta go back through them. Give me a sec. Talking. I really like Trav's team, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's certainly, like, it's one of the best, like, balance teams. He's sort of ticked all the boxes. He's got the quality, he's got the bulk, he's got the power, and I want to see him do well. So I'd say that's probably favorite team.
I think I would definitely agree with you. I think starting out, he's definitely the best suited to this kind of format so far. There's no bad team. Like, I feel definitely Necro is going to be the weakest, but there's no, like, wow, you did terribly. There's none of that.
I think we're deep enough into, like, league formats where you're not going to see many teams like that, where you go, that is just garbage.
Yeah.
People know enough that they're going to draft cool stuff.
Yeah. Cool. So, to the people who made it to the end of this, I guess it counts as a podcast, Jesus.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you to Lion for joining me and helping me out with this.
Pleasure to be here, mate. I had to do it.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording. So we are looking forward to the beginning of the PPL season this year, because it's the 2016 year. Yay! Okay.
Yes.
And yeah, so hope you all enjoyed, and we shall see you in the next video. Later.
Peace.